I am Marcus Dixon with Gold Derby, and we are here with Theo James from the White Lotus Season 2 on HBO. You play Cameron Sullivan, who travels to Sicily with his wife Daphne, played by Megan Fahey, and another couple. How big of a fan were you of Season 1 before you signed on to this project?
Big fan. I'd watched it, just as a fan with my wife, and loved it, because it was a kind of sleeper hit, wasn't it, that first season? So when the opportunity came around to audition for it, I heard on the grapevine, as you do, that they might be doing it again. I was obviously very keen to try, but it was a fairly simple process after that. But I love the absurd mundanity of Mike's writing. I loved the gentle proposition of socioeconomic and class themes. I was a big fan. Yeah.
I talked to Megan recently, and she said she got all of the scripts at once and she read them all. Did you have a similar experience?
Yes. Yeah. I think we had the first episode for the kind of the latter stage of the audition process, and then we got them all together because Mike writes pretty quickly, and I don't think he had, we were auditioning kind of in December or something, and then we were out there in February of the next year, so pretty quickly, and I don't think he'd finished them at that point, so he knocks them out pretty quick once he knows exactly what he's writing. But yeah, they all come in at once and you kind of devour them quickly, as his writing is so succinct. And I was surprised in a way how they went, but I was also gratified. I was kind of assuming things would turn in certain directions, and that didn't happen, and I enjoyed that because I felt that once it came to filming it, it would be an elusive narrative for audiences to unpick, which is obviously quite tantalizing when it's a mystery show, in essence. But yeah, they were great. We had an ability to, the way Mike allows you to work is you can kind of improv into and out of scenes and then throw stuff in there here and there where it might feel right, if you know what I mean. But that looseness was really useful because it enabled you to really pad out the character in ways that you don't normally get to.
Do you remember off the top of your head any improv lines that you did that made it into the show?
I haven't seen it for so long, honestly. But yeah, there's quite a few from everyone, actually. But most of the, I also remember the ones that didn't. When you improv those ones, you're like, oh, that was a zinger. That'll definitely make it in. It didn't. I remember a zinger in my mind about like George Bezos being a human dildo, and I was, sure that would get in. Didn't get in, probably for right reasons. No, I mean there was enough of it. The brilliance in a way of what Mike does is most of what was on the page ends up being what it is, but the color around the edges he will allow and help you to fill in. So he'll be throwing things at you while you're shooting. Try this, try that. So yeah, it's 100% his work, and you're just there to help and facilitate that great writing.
I love the juxtaposition between the two married couples. Cameron and Daphne are very carefree and lighthearted. They don't even watch the news or get involved in politics. Whereas Harper and Ethan, played by Aubrey Plaza and Will Sharp, they're much more serious and almost clenched as a couple. How much discussion did the four of you actors have about the character relationships and the backstories?
Will and I had conversations about the two guys' shared history because they have it, and then obviously Megan and I talked a lot about our relationship and also how we wanted to be with one another as a couple, because that's a big part of it. Their kind of effusiveness, their tactility, their quite they're quite hypersexual with each other, in quite a freeing way, and we kind of talked about that and wanted to have that essence in it. With Will, we talked about what kind of friends they were, how they ended up evolving as this unlikely friendship pair. But then with the Aubrey of it, she's supposed to be kind of a bit of a fish out of water in a way. So there wasn't a lot of discussion. But, what's also good with what they did with the first season as well is, obviously everyone's quite different from their parts, but the best casting pulls on 10% of reality of each person, so you kind of try and pull from the reality of your own personality as much as possible to make it grounded.
I'd love to get your take on what happens in the first episode when Cameron changes into a swimsuit with an eye view of Harper. Was he doing that to try to rattle her, or to maybe show dominance in front of her? What is your take on that?
Yes, I think in the basis level, it's quite a mammalian move, and Cameron always represented that to me in some ways. You think of the id and the ego and the animal versus the civilized, evolved human, and there's an animalism to him, which is both dangerous, repugnant, and quite alluring to someone like, for example, Harper. She's kind of detests his animalism, but then is attracted to it in a strange way because, as you said, there's something quite clenched about her character and longing for a freedom, longing to be kind of let loose in a way, and that's eventually what happens. Cameron also, he's quite instinctual, and that makes him fun and unpredictable, but it also makes him impulsive and can be quite problematic at times. But one thing about Cameron as well, as I've always thought was interesting, is that he's quite manipulative. He on the face of it, he wouldn't seem to be, but he's a gaslighter for one with most people around him, but he's also plays people off against each other, which I always enjoyed about that as a character, because it's a great thing to play for an actor.
And one of the turning points for your storyline was when the girls go on their overnight trip and the guys basically act like they're single college students again. In your mind, was Cameron cheating on Daphne, or did they sort of have this open relationship, do whatever, don't talk about it?
I think there's an openness to their relationship born of probably a reality that they both got used to. But I don't think they talk about it. So, he loves his wife, and that's one thing. Again, Megan and I talked about, and Mike was very keen on from the beginning, even when we first got there and hadn't kind of rehearsed or anything, was like they need to be in love, they need to be really like each other, but within the boundaries of their relationship, there's an openness to it, just purely for the sex, the intercourse of it, the certainly for Cameron, and that is one of the main statements, messages when it comes to Cameron and Daphne. It's like, who are we to judge them in terms of the prism of the relationship norms that we understand to be normal, right? Do we think, oh, they don't react in a way that we understand normal relationships to work in the framework of it, so they must be unhappy. But the weird thing is they're happy. So, perhaps the question is whether we should, if people are happy, should we just let them be happy, no matter how complex or potentially toxic their own machinations within the relationship are, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And there's been a ton of fan speculation about what happened, if anything happened, between Cameron and Harper when they went up to the room to, get a hat. What is your personal theory of what exactly went down?
I think they played Jenga, and then a bit of fruity twister. I think they probably got stuck in, but then were interrupted, and how far each one, particularly Aubrey's character, were really willing to take it is a question for, that will never be answered. But I don't think they, I think the main thing is that they were both willing to do that. That says so much about the toxicity within the relationship. I mean, it also says a lot about Cameron. I mean, that's the funny thing. He's a dichotomy in a way. He's quite loving. I think he loves, as I said, he loves his wife, and he genuinely loves Ethan, Will's character, in a kind of little brother bro-ish way. But then he is in some ways completely amoral. He doesn't seem to have, your normal sense of morality that we all hope that we have.
At the beginning of the finale, there's a moment where Daphne's on FaceTime with the kids, and she's calling Cameron in from the bathroom, and he doesn't seem to have any interest in saying hi. And I read something into that I don't know if other people read, and I think Cameron didn't want to say hi because he knows he's not the father. Am I reading something that's not there? Let me know.
I like the idea that that's a suggestion, and the frisson that you see, which is rare in his character, is maybe emblematic of that. Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is, if you show, in the show, she shows a picture, doesn't she, to Aubrey's character, and she, one of them looks like Cameron and the other one clearly doesn't. I mean, he probably has some semblance of the truth, but would never admit it to himself, because that would be pretty fucking complicated. But I think deep within him, he knows that there's some truth, and the truth of that matter is he also probably led Megan's character to, he created that environment in the first place, so he kind of made his bed. But also, I wanted to suggest there that, there's a little bit of an element of a sociopath with him, and I think that's the tiny window that you see that as well. Someone who can switch like that from dead-eyed, no empathy, to, oh my God, hey guys, how are you? Oh, I love you, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Let's talk about the epic fight scene in the ocean between Cameron and Ethan. How much prep work goes into a fight like that? Talk about the choreography that you all had to learn.
Lots of press ups and covering each other in oil. That was my only prep. But no, not loads of prep, to be honest. We had a rehearsal the day before, and then we kind of tried to wing it. I mean, it wanted to be visceral, but it also needed to be ridiculous, in the sense that both these men don't really know how to fight each other. They're kind of, as you said about them regressing when they go partying to becoming college students, in that moment they regress to 8 to 10-year-olds. Mm-hmm. even though in the tension of it, obviously you think one of them might die. So there wasn't loads of rehearsal, but we kind of needed to figure it out in the moment, basically. But and also, I think I remember the sun was setting and we had about 3 hours to shoot it, so we did it fairly quickly.
And of course, Mike White is so sneaky. He had you guys fight in the ocean in the finale because he wanted the viewers to go, oh, they're going to kill each other. They're the dead bodies that's going to be found.
Of course. And I remember reading the scripts thinking, oh, shit, okay, yeah, Ethan's going to kill Cameron. He's finally pushed him over the edge. And then going, oh, no, maybe, okay, that's the other way. So, yeah, that's the brilliance of his writing.
Do you have any fun Jennifer Coolidge moments that you can share from the set? I don't think you guys had too many scenes, if any scenes together, but what was she like, behind the scenes?
She's great, comic genius. And we all hung out a lot, which I'm sure it's been, we had lots of dinners and drinking. I think I must have gone on at least 3 or 4 dinners with me and maybe Megan and a couple of other people, you know, so small dinners. And then we were at the premiere for it, and I was standing with one of the guys from the first season of White Lotus, and we were like, "Hey, Jennifer," and she was like, "Oh, hi," and then we had to say, "Oh, by the way, it's us," and she was like, "Oh, guy, I thought you were the guys that were going to hold my coat," which was fairly funny. But yeah.
Big congratulations at the SAG Awards. The cast of the White Lotus won the Best Drama Ensemble, and the Emmy nominations are coming up next. What would it mean if you were to get a nomination at the Emmys?
It would be huge. It would be massive. But also, I know the field's pretty damn stacked with, you know, not only from other people in the show that I was in, but in other shows that I've been watching and really enjoying. So, you know, either way, it's been a fun ride.
And last question, Theo, there's a ton of James Bond fans out there who think that you would be perfect for that role. What is your message for the fans that are there to have their fingers crossed?
I think probably they would, maybe it needs reinvention, you know, maybe the iteration, the emotional kind of bruised version of Daniel Craig. I think probably they need to go in a completely different direction. That probably wouldn't be me, you know, it needs a total reinvention.
Well, thank you for chatting with us today. Best of luck at the Emmys coming up.
Thanks, man. Nice to chat.